Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today for this next edition of Facebook and Instagram Live. And yeah, great pleasure to be here this morning. It's this morning where I am, this evening for many, and this afternoon for maybe some. Yeah, and maybe if you're watching this back on video, thank you for tuning in and enjoying this offering. And so, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris, and I am a longtime mindfulness and meditation teacher, facilitator, retreat facilitator as well. I've been practicing for almost 40 years now, and I have been teaching. More or less started teaching in 2009, but really got into it as a profession, as a career in 2015. And so I've been teaching since then. I was playing music before then and teaching at the same time for several years. But around 2015, I was able to put the music aside and just do this full time, which I love. I love it. In addition to let me talk a little bit more about my mindfulness and meditation training. I come primarily from the Buddhist tradition. I've studied and trained quite deeply in the Tibetan traditions, Dzogchen, Mahamudra. Also trained very deeply in Theravada Buddhism, the early schools of Buddhism, and Korean Zen and Japanese Zen. So quite a broad foundation of understanding from the Buddhist traditions. That being said, I'm also a trained and licensed clinical trauma professional with an emphasis on somatics and somatic psychology. And I've recently completed a year-long training course through Harvard and Barre School of Buddhist. What do they tell? I just call them Barre, but I think it's Barre, the Dharma Center, Barre in Massachusetts. Harvard teamed up with Barre and created a really wonderful year-long training program entitled Meditation and Psychotherapy. So really drawing a lot from those teachings as well here. And so what brings me to Facebook Live, you might ask? And so, fair question. And so I tend to do about a month of Facebook Live sessions, maybe once or twice a week, leading up to an online course. And this is no different in that way. So I'll just speak a little bit about the course that I'm referring to, that I'm going to be offering. It's a course entitled Resilience Training, and the subtitle is Finding Homeostasis, Encouraging Responsiveness. And this course will run from August 17th to October 5th. It's an 8-week course. And the times of each session, we meet once a week on Sunday evenings from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. East Coast Standard Time. Please check your time zones if you want to make the sessions live. Check your time zones to make sure that your time zone fits in your waking hours or available hours. The sessions are all offered live over Zoom, and I will be there live on every session. So yeah, there's a lot of online offerings nowadays that are pre-recorded. That's not this. I'm there, I'm answering questions, I'm interacting with everyone, making sure everyone's engaging in a helpful way. I'm also there to answer questions and to guide some meditations. I'll be offering guided meditations throughout the sessions. I also really take good care to develop a type of community in the sessions as well, so the supportive, nurturing community. Some of my offerings of late, we did away with the Facebook community page. There will be a Facebook community page for this course. So if you've taken courses with me before and looking forward to that will be a feature in this course as well. Lots of opportunities for question and answer as well. This course is And everything that I offer really is offered within a trauma-informed framework. Now, in this course in resilience training, we're going to be engaging quite extensively in practices that are specifically designed to help resolve some of the trauma that we might be carrying in our nervous system. And, you know, I'd say in my work, I haven't met anyone who isn't carrying some trauma. It's just so normal these days that we have some imprint from our childhood, from some of our life experiences, some imprint that's left an indelible mark in our nervous system. And most people call that personality, right? In fact, the great writer Resmaa Menakem, his quote, trauma, I'll paraphrase it because I'm not going to get it exactly right. It's uncontextualized experiences become our personality, right? So when we have experiences taken out of context, right, trauma taken out of context becomes personality. I think that's how he says it. Yeah. So yeah, we might just say, well, I'm just an angry person, right? Or I'm just a forgetful person, or I'm just a foggy-minded person. I'm just a space cadet sometimes, right? And yes, we do have tendencies, but those tendencies are, you know, we don't have to buy into that, right? We don't have to say that that's just how I am, right? We can create a choice around that. And so a lot of the practices we'll be engaging in this course are ways of finding that choice point. The price point for this online program that I'm offering runs on a sliding scale. And if you want to find out more about the sliding scale, or if you want to go ahead and register, please visit my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org. There's lots of free resources there on the website as well. Or if you have questions or you'd like to talk more about the program, you can email me, chrisluard@yahoo.com. So yeah, that's a little bit about the offering, and so maybe I'll go ahead and get into the topic. I've already covered a little bit there. Maybe we can go ahead and start with a practice then, and I'd like to go ahead and do a bit of meditation here on the breath. And by the way, the course that I'm offering is appropriate for meditators and non-meditators alike. Advanced meditators, that's welcome. People who have no meditation experience, also welcome. Beginning in meditation, also welcome. So this is a very simple kind of meditation practice on the breath. For this, we'll use the breath. There are other anchor points into the present moment. One could use sounds, and if you do identify with carrying a lot of stress or trauma in your nervous system, sounds can be a very helpful anchor point, because that kind of takes our awareness away from where we may be carrying that challenging material. But for this practice, for today, we'll start with the breath. And so I'll ring the bell, and I'll guide us in. Before I ring the bell, let me just speak a little bit more about the practice. Sorry about that. So, get a little ahead of myself here. So it's from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen monk, beautiful teacher, poet, peace activist. And so as we breathe in, we say the word calm right at the very beginning of the in-breath. So calm, and then breathing in and feeling the entire in-breath. And then as we breathe out, we say resting, and feeling the entire out-breath. right? So allowing that note of calm and resting to help us connect to the experience of the breath. The idea is we want to be able to feel all of the sensations of the breath as much as feels accessible, right? So breathing in, we say calm, and breathing out, resting. Breathing in, calm, and breathing out, resting. So we'll do that in the meditation practice. A few things about that. Sometimes when people are invited to breathe out the resting, they get more tense because they feel like they're letting go of that quality of rest. That's normal, right? But that's not what's being invited here. So as we breathe in, if you like, you can try this. Breathing in, you feel the entire in-breath. And as you breathe out, you say resting. You can send that resting out through the body. So as we breathe out, resting and sending that quality of rest through the body. Like that. And then, we'll do this for only maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And even in that 5 to 7 minute window, you'll notice perhaps, very likely anyway, the mind will start wandering. And then whenever you notice the mind wandering, you just say thinking, 2, 3 times, and then you return back to the breath. That's it. And so even just by saying thinking 2 or 3 times, you're actually noting exactly what you're doing in that moment. You're thinking. Right? So as soon as you do that, you're not distracted anymore. And then we can come back to the present moment. Right? And that can happen 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 times, 1,000,000 times in any given meditation, and that's normal. So there's no reason to get discouraged by the amount of thoughts we have during a meditation. It's normal, it's fine. The idea is just to keep coming back. That's it. Every time we come back from a distraction, it's like we're lifting weights. We're getting a little bit stronger with our capacity to stay connected. Okay, now I have said enough. And I'll ring the bell and I'll guide us in. And so the invitation here is simply to arrive into this present moment. And there are many ways of arriving and connecting to the present moment. And for this practice, let's start with the experience of the breath. And so we're simply noticing the breath and how the breath feels from the in-breath to out-breath. We might notice the rising and falling of the abdomen, the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath, the shoulders rising and falling, breathing in, breathing out. The back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. And while we're noticing the breath, there may be some sensations there at the nostrils. Maybe a dry or a cool sensation there. Perhaps noticing you're breathing in more air through one nostril over the other, or maybe the temperature is slightly different in one nostril over the other. So just noticing the breath. There's no need to judge the breath. We can let go of any urge to problem solve. And just observe. We might even say a phrase here like, the breath is just like this right now. It might be long, it might be short. And then when you're ready, on the next in-breath, right as you begin the in-breath, say calm, breathing in, calm. Beginning of the out-breath, resting. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, resting. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, resting. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, resting. And just continue noting the breath in that way, in your own pace and time. I'll be relatively quiet here. Breathing in, calm. And breathing out, resting. And then if the mind is wandering, remember that's normal, labeling that thinking, and returning back to the breath. Not making the thoughts into a problem, but simply observing and returning. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, resting. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, resting. And maybe we can change the out-breath note to a smile. So that would go breathing in, calm. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, I smile. And again, I'll be relatively quiet here for another breath or two. Just continue on your own. So in a few moments then I'll ring the bell and bring us back into a conversational space. Yeah. So, thank you so much for joining me in that brief guided meditation. I hope that was helpful. And as I often like to mention after a practice, we don't do these meditations to be good at meditation, right? We meditate to develop a set of skills that can be helpful in navigating our life. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, if you'd like, you can bring this with you, right? And so you're waiting in traffic, breathing in calm, breathing out resting. You're waiting for a challenging phone call, breathing in calm, breathing out resting, right? Whatever it is, you're waiting for an elevator, you're online at the grocery store and there's 10 people in front of you and you're late for a meeting. Perfect, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't need to be a challenging situation. It could be anything. You're taking a walk in a park, it's a lovely day. Breathing in calm, breathing out resting, like that. In fact, it's helpful to practice when we're in peaceful and calm settings, right? Because then we can really take it all in. And then when our life does get challenging, and everyone's life gets challenging, we'll have these tools in the toolbox to draw from to help us navigate those challenges. So yeah, it's very, very important to practice when things are going well. Good to practice when things are challenging too. It's basically good to practice all the time. But very helpful to practice when things are calm and copacetic. So that was one practice that we will be exploring in the course that I mentioned earlier. You don't have to sign up for the course to do the practice. It's there for you. And I'll do a few other practices here now as we're kind of together here. And these... So one of the reasons why I'm offering this course here now is that these practices have allowed me to stay regulated and to keep from getting triggered, even though I'm engaging quite deeply in the world's situations right now, the rise of fascism in America in particular. Where I'm really engaged in that and doing as much as I can from a distance to be of help in that unfolding, or rather to fight that unfolding, I should say. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm offering this course now, is that even if you're not engaging to the level that I am, maybe you're just watching the news sometimes, or maybe you're helping friends who are struggling, or maybe it's just kind of there in the periphery, but you sense that underlying creeping of fascism is really weighing down on your nervous system. These practices can really help us stay connected to our intentions, how we intend to show up in the world. They can help us stay regulated so that we can remain responsive rather than reacting to the situations that we're encountering. So here's another one. This is called havening. And it's getting a lot of press these days, so you may have experienced havening already. But it is something that we'll be exploring throughout the course. One of the things that I love about havening is that one can add it into other practices as well. And so I may mention that too as we go here. So we'll just do a few rounds of havening here. And this is the practice of sort of just gently grabbing the shoulder and the arm, right where the shoulder and the arms meet. And I'm using two cameras here, one for Instagram and one for Facebook. I'm not sure you can see my whole arms on Facebook, but Instagram you can. Let me try to, here. So, yeah, I'm just grabbing the arms right where the arm and shoulders meet, and just giving a gentle squeeze and working my way down to the elbows, like that. And I need to sit back because that's not helpful. So yeah, just grabbing the arms right there. Shoulders and arms meet, squeezing down towards the elbow. And then when you get to the elbow, we return back up at the shoulders. And just giving a gentle squeeze. Some people call this a self-hug, and I get that. It definitely can feel like a self-hug. It's quite lovely, actually. So I just did about 4 of them, and I'm already starting to feel some tension soften in my belly. My jaw just loosened a little bit, my shoulders. But I've been doing these practices for quite some time, and for others it can take a while for these practices to land. There's no wrong or right about that. Generally, after I do 5 or 6 of the squeeze motion, I go into like a stroke where I'm just kind of doing from shoulder to elbow again, but just giving a light and gentle rub down from shoulder to elbow. The movement is usually, well, the correct way to do it, actually, I should say, is from shoulder to elbow down. That downward motion is calming in and of itself. So sometimes people like to go up and down like that. That's not really what we want to do here. That can be effective, but it's not optimal. So the downward movement is optimal. So I just mentioned that one can add this to other practices. And so, yeah, let's do that real quick. That's breathing in calm. Breathing out, resting. Breathing in calm. Breathing out, resting. Breathing in calm. Breathing out, resting. And then just going back to behaving. And then when you're ready, you can let that rest, or you really could keep that going throughout the rest of the talk today if you'd like. No problem with that. With all of these practices, everything that I offer, first of all, everything that I offer is an invitation. So please don't feel obligated if I'm offering something to try it. Check it out. If it starts to feel not right, or you start to get activated or triggered by the exercise, please stop. That's a good time to stop. Take a rest. Yeah. Generally doesn't happen with these practices, but it can happen. So I just wanted to put that out there. So these are some of the practices we'll be engaging in the online course that I'm offering. We'll also be taking some time right at the very beginning of the course. We'll be mapping out the human nervous system. Into the map that I'll offer is really drawing from Stephen Porges's and Deb Dana's work. I'll also be drawing a lot from Dan Siegel, talking about the window of tolerance. That's a concept that comes from Dan Siegel. So the window of tolerance is really, another map, really, and it too has 3 parts, coincidentally. And I'll just kind of maybe offer a loose kind of blueprint of that with my hands. So this is the window of tolerance, and my face is just kind of in there coincidentally. And so the inside, in between my hands, is what I would call the green zone, or homeostasis. It's the optimal zone to be in, right? That's the zone that, when we feel connected to others, we're able to learn, we can concentrate without too much effort, we're calm, we're collected, and we're responsive. That's the window of tolerance. Sometimes we get triggered and we go into fight-flight response, right? And that now we're above or outside of our window of tolerance, right? And all of our defense responses, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and all of the others, those are designed to help us return and remain in our window of tolerance, right? So we don't want to make fight, flight, or freeze wrong or bad, right? It's that would be like making the trees bad, or a flower bad, or the sky bad, right? It's nature, right? It's natural for our human nervous system to send us into one of those areas depending on what we're experiencing. So we may go into fight flight, and fight flight has a particular sensation to it, a particular somatic experience in the body. So we'll be exploring the somatic feeling of fight flight. We'll also be exploring the somatic feelings of the green zone, homeostasis, and freeze, which is what happens when we're in the green zone. We get triggered, we go right into fight flight, but then fight flight isn't working and we end up in freeze, right? And so then we'll explore what freeze response feels like in the body and in the mind too, and in the heart, right? So we get a hit of what those feel like. So then, because generally people are kind of floating through homeostasis, fight, flight, and freeze kind of without any awareness of it, right? And that can greatly determine our reactivity, right? If I'm in fight, flight response and I'm not aware that I'm in fight, flight, if somebody says something that I interpret as being slightly threatening, I will either, yell at them or worse, or run, or shut down and numb out. And then if I'm not aware that I was in fight flight before that encounter, I'll just be like, freaking out. And I'll think it's normal. I'll think that's my personality. Again, right? I'm just an angry person. Or I'm just the person who shuts down anytime anything's threatening, right? So we can start to map that tendency out, or those tendencies out. The benefit of that is then when we realize we're in fight, flight, or we realize we're in freeze, we can do havening, we can do breathing in calm, breathing out resting, and lots and lots of other practices. I want to say hundreds, that's a lot, hundreds is a lot. And we only have 8 weeks. But we will be engaging in many practices that can help us first recognize the response that we're in any given moment, and then come back to the green zone. And as I'm saying that, we don't want to make the green zone good and the fight, flight, and freeze response is bad, right? That could be the tendency. Again, it's nature, right? And we need fight, flight, we need freeze. That's how we stay alive, right? So we don't want to villainify those tendencies, but just to recognize they're natural, they're normal. But we, it's like we don't want to make Siberia bad, right? It's just not the optimal place to be. I've never been to Siberia, but from what I understand, it's probably not the optimal place to be, right? Same thing with the freeze response, same thing with fight or flight. They're not bad, but generally they're not the optimal place to be, unless they are, right? Unless something is threatening, right? And then we do need to get away, or we do need to fight, or we do need to freeze, right? So then they do become the optimal place to be. That's why we don't want to make them bad. So maybe just one more practice before we draw our time together here to a close. And this is called relaxation breathing technique. It's a lovely way to end a session. It's occurring to me now as I'm speaking. And it is exactly what the name would imply. And so when we breathe in, it has a particular in-breath. We fill the abdomen first and then the upper torso. It's like a wave. So breathing in, filling the abdomen, upper torso. And then when we breathe out, we relax the forehead, relax the eyes, relax the jaw, relax the shoulders, rest. Let's just do that maybe 7 times. Breathing in, filling the abdomen, upper torso. Breathing out, relaxing the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, rest. Breathing in, filling the abdomen, upper torso. Breathing out, relaxing the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, rest. Breathing in, filling the abdomen, upper torso. Breathing out, relaxing the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, rest. Number 5, breathing in, filling the abdomen, upper torso. Breathing out, relaxing the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, rest. Number 6, breathing in, filling the abdomen, upper torso. Breathing out, relaxing the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, rest. And then last one, breathing in, filling the abdomen, the upper torso. And breathing out, relaxing the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, rest. And that's the relaxation breathing technique that comes from the very, very wonderful Dr. Peter Levine. And if you're not familiar with Peter Levine, I strongly recommend checking him out. Tons of videos on YouTube. So thank you for joining me in this online session. I'll be here once, maybe twice a week. We'll have to see what my schedule's like, but at least once a week up until the launch of the online course. That is on August, let me double check, August 17th, East Coast time, which will be the morning of the 18th in Asia, Australia, or New Zealand. Yeah, be wonderful to see you there if you can make it. If not, that's also wonderful. Thank you for tuning in nonetheless. And hope to see you here or there. If you have any questions about any of these practices, by the way, please don't hesitate to message me through Messenger, email me through my website, suchsweetthunder.org. And yeah, be well, everyone. Stay safe, stay well. See you next time. I'll ring the bell to close us out. Thank you. Thank you.